So, hi, Inna. So lovely to meet you virtually on screen.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Ah, you're welcome. So, whereabouts in the world are you? Tell us whereabouts in the world you are.
Well, we're living with my husband Michael. He's an artist. We're living in Finland, in South Finland, in Turku, which is very close to Stockholm and archipelago and beautiful area. And normally, if not COVID, we in the winter season, we're living in Italy, in Florence, in Firenze. And this is how we spend our life in between Italy and Finland. But because of COVID, we're here. So maybe after New Year we'll relocate. Yeah.
And when you go to Italy, is that because you love the light and the colors and it stimulates your artwork?
You know, we both, fortunately, we both are Italophiles. We love France, but in another way. Italy is very, first of all, Michael's family is related, and we're at home there in culture, in language, and people, in everything. It's very, very organic to us. So many people ask, what's wrong with Spain? Nothing wrong with Spain, but Italy. Well, you know, it just us. And I have been working very, of course, very many years on Italy, but only now I started to create a series which I dare to call My Italy. And because actually it needed years and years of absorption in many ways, just to figure out what is your Italy is is about.
Yes.
But it happens. And
yes,
yeah, so it gives it's not only, of course, light maybe, but I think tissue of life, because in Italy we were speaking another day with our friend and comparing the children culture education in different countries. And I noticed something in the back of the brain just prompted that just every time when we are in the museum in Italy, we see a class with a teacher speaking to children, explaining every single time. And we're in museums there all the time. So whenever we are in museum in France, I haven't seen that. And in Spain, yes, it is. But never I saw so many children classes of different ages, starting from very young ones, as in Italian museums. Another samples to give you, we are our foundation, Rogatchi Foundation, we are for years partnering with Italian National Institute for Health. Why on earth for health? Because they run a special program of, now they call it Culture and Humanities, a special institute for health, which is like a huge ministry. For additionally to ministry, they have this huge institute which has 6 Nobel laureates and fantastic institution, actually very busy on daily basis what they are doing, because they are briefing government daily nowadays because of COVID. So they are extremely busy people. Given all this, they do have a fantastic museum of their own of art, and they do have the program of culture and humanities. And in many other ways, Italian life is a structure of life is built on culture all around and within, and maybe this attitude to life which actually made us so tuned into the Italian landscape in many ways.
So that really has had a significant influence on your life and on your art, your connection with Italy and the time you spent in Italy. Wow. Yeah, I haven't spent so much time in Italy. I'm not aware so much. I mean, I've been to Florence and I've been to Venice, but I've spent a lot of time in France and in England. And yeah, I am aware of, you know, when you go around to the galleries and the museums, a lot of them do have education programs, don't they? It's fabulous that that's really embedded into the Italian culture. Amazing. You alluded to your Rogatchi Foundation. So how does that work? What do you do with the foundation?
The foundation is about 20 years old. And before that, we had international charity, a cultural charity called Arts Against Cancer, with actually Paul McCartney and his wife were members of our board. And we acted in the ways that connected with, of course, high-end people in arts, but not because of their names, because of their family stories. So Paul has his story, and everyone who was in had his or her story, and it worked. We started in the end of 80s, and it worked like we were actually collecting and connecting artists and collecting their works for charitable purposes, charitable exhibitions, charitable events, never actually having an idea to benefit. Many years after, some of our consultants said, "You're mad, you're crazy," because normally people do have, like, when they're running charities, they have 20% given to charities and rest works for the organization. And I look at him and said, "Really?" So it didn't cross our minds. Never, never.
No, when we work with charities, it's 100% to the charity. Yeah.
Yes. And we participated within the capacities of, and then that Arts Against Cancer sort of moved, transformed into the foundation with the same purposes, culture and art for people, for those who needs it most. Like, we're providing a lot of art to hospitals because we believe in this, and we have a very positive response on this. And recently, one person, a senior diplomat, told me, said, I was having heart operation. The last thing I wanted to see around me were empty white walls, and the most important thing for me was to look into something warm and good and nice. And actually, I am doing it for years. It was my first concept in art, to do art which just provide psychological support. And Lesley, believe me, it's very difficult. It's not that I thought in the beginning, because I thought, fine, nice picture, will do. Or sunny picture, will do. No, it wouldn't, because you have to consider circumstances of people who are perceiving it. So it shouldn't be, if you are doing art for hospices, which we did, which is difficult. So you shouldn't be idiotic about it. So you shouldn't be overwhelmingly cheerful because it's stupid. Neither you should be gloomy or blue. No, it doesn't work. Then, for instance, I was thinking, okay, we'll show seascapes, and then I thought, okay, those people cannot travel.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
they
I never thought about it in such a complex way. And you're absolutely right. When you go into a hospital, you're already psychologically feeling quite threatened, aren't you?
yes, yes.
And so therefore, what you see with your eyes that influences your thought patterns is incredibly important.
And also subconscious. And then colors shouldn't be too powerful, but they shouldn't be too bleak. Subjects, again, they shouldn't be clichéized. Neither they should be too complicated. So it's, when I started
Wow.
it, I thought, oh, okay, I know where I'm going. No, I didn't. It was very difficult. So we provided art for hospices here in Finland, in Spain, in Japan, in the UK as well. And in the UK, we made also a special program, charitable art sales for a supporting program for sister nurses with leukemia, who are working with leukemia patients in Royal Marsden Hospital, and several things. And then we participated in His Royal Highness's Trust's special art charitable events as well. So we are producing art, connecting artists, collecting art for special purposes, and so doing all kind of these things also for children, children with rare diseases. and this is our Italian friends and partners idea, you know, when they launched the exhibition of children with rare diseases, I saw, I didn't come to think that some sick people and young can produce it. I was thinking, my goodness, it was sort of Chagall kind of art, beautiful.
So
So
the patients produce the art in that instance.
yes, in that case, patients, and of course there are many known courses of psychotherapy art, but it was different because nobody taught them to do it. It's what they really wanted to say, and they're very talented. Be deficient in certain ways, they of course the talent goes
Yeah,
in that way. And
that's incredible. So if we have artists watching today who are very interested in this more therapeutic art and connecting with you, how would they go about that?
yeah, I will provide, of course, our site, foundation has site, and there's our email address, and definitely we will be very happy.
Do we have, what do we have in, let me share the ART360 magazine, because I know that, let me just find the magazine here. And I can share the magazine.
Great, thank you.
And then you can tell us. So can you see the magazine?
Yes.
Is there? That's
beautiful.
The beautiful brand new magazine.
Yes. Beautiful.
And you are on page 1556, I think.
Very good.
So I'm going to come through to 52 for... Yes, look at that. I actually got that. Page 56. So here are the contact details for you. So if we have artists or donors or anyone who's involved in the arts who would like to interact with you with regard to the foundation, which is
very welcome. We're very welcome.
To contact you on this email here, office@inarogotchiart.com. Then you've got your website, and then you're on Facebook. You're on Twitter, and you're on Instagram, so they can contact you any of those ways.
Sure. And also Lineket, yes.
Yeah. So now we're on your page. It'd be really good timing to talk about your personal art, the art that you make yourself, I think.
Okay.
So you're very inspired by the imagination, you were telling me.
Yes.
Tell me more.
I think art is imagination, because I was thinking another day on what it is more like ability, say, to draw or to paint, or more an ability to have a vision. And I'm struggling because of course you have to be a good artist, you have to do it well. You have to be a good draftsman, but I think that if a good draftsman has no vision, so he or she will end as a great copyist. But if an artist has a vision and tries to be, of course, as professional as possible, but in this case my thinking is that his vision actually drives him or her. And I can tell you on my own samples that I started like a fine art photographer and 15 years ago. And so I did quite a lot of macro fine art photography and close range photography and all kinds of things, and had very many exhibitions, because I always produce a project with a concept on certain theme, which includes also writings, mini essays to my works, and making videos, short art film, and musical presentation. So I'm synthetic person, so I like to combine things. But then in I think 5 years ago, 2016, 17, I thought, okay, that's it. I sort of done it. And things, themes and ways of doing it comes as if by themselves. And I started with handmade applications in precious metals of gold and silver, semi-precious like copper and bronze, onto my own prints on cotton paper, just printed in a special way. So I start to add decorations in precious metals. It was very successful, and it was perceived very well, exhibited widely. And then I thought, okay, I did it. And then I moved on to seeing it. It was like a gift, because I made several prints, and I looked into them, and I started really seriously to see patterns and faces, and just as if appearing from those prints up to me, and I was even frightened at some stage. And then I start to paint it, and in different, very different mediums, like crayons, luminance, and or pastels or watercolor, and I'm combining all of them, and now I'm using up to 18 different mediums in one work.
Wow.
So looking like this Van Gogh behind me, my tribute to Van Gogh for this one.
So can you let me put you on full screen so people can see your full, there we go.
Yeah. So for instance, this work, I made a big print of it on a very special paper. And I'm looking into that, I'm planning what to do. And here, and doing the layers of my own drawings in color. So per layer per color. And this one, something like 12 different layers of drawing over that. And one I have, I think that one that was at London Biennale, it had 18 layers, and behind, and I also started to draw directly. So behind me is work. I don't know. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. So this work with faces and things like that. So it just appears to me, and I'm very grateful to whoever helps me to see. And also I start to have a new ideas of new forms, like the works which I'm now preparing for exhibition, personal exhibition like this. So I'm sort of inventing compositions, and then creating those compositions, and then photographing them, and then paint it over. So
okay, so they start off as you imagine a kind of still life that you compose, and then you photograph it, print it onto a special whatever type of paper you decide, and then you start embellishing and adding layers to it. Goodness, wow. And then at some point do you move those into film as well?
Yes, definitely. And then I also have a quite complicated and frankly expensive technique of printing it into, believe or not, melted aluminum composite. And so that's forever, and it's very good looking, and it's modern, but it also doesn't have this metal taste. It does not. It's very soft, and it's I don't know why, but it was one of the latest techniques which my partners in producing proposed, and it worked. It was in Zverev prize, and it went really very well. So yes, techniques are developing as well.
That's so fascinating. So whereabouts, so you're doing the printing of the soft into the soft aluminium in Finland?
Yes.
Okay, so if anyone watching is interested in that technique, I'm sure they could contact you and you could speak to them about it, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of artists watching this who will be fascinated to. I can even in my head think of 3 or 4 who would immediately be like, how do you do that? I want to do that now.
It was fantastic idea, and the most difficult thing was to find a medium which will not melt itself, because all others would. So I spent I think, couple of weeks before I found this Swiss-made pencil, which are called the Rolls-Royce of pencils, crayons luminance, and they definitely they stayed as nice and happened. Also, temperature was 660 degrees. Can you believe it?
So it's like firing it in a kiln, effectively.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
this piece behind you has gone through that process, you're saying?
Yeah. This.
And you
This
can
one.
see it's beautiful. It's like luminescent.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Well, and the colors are so vibrant as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can think of a
Absolutely.
lot of artists who are watching this, who will be wanting to contact you to find out more about that process, you know, I can tell you. And you've got some more pieces to the left of that piece, or to your right. Yeah.
I have pieces which I wanted to speak a little bit. It's I also, another way of working inspiration, it's world culture. And this is my Van Gogh, because I have a special project on him, and everybody loves him, or most of us. But and then people knows, of course, couple of basic things, but I think that in order to get into his world, you really have to to get into that. So in my case, it meant I started in New York in 2008, because I was privileged to get access in Morgan Library to extraordinary collection of not only his letters but all documentation around around it. And I was struck, actually stricken by his um, handwrite, because when I saw his handwrite, I thought, no, 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 no. This man was not crazy. It's not handwrite of a crazy person. It was handwrite, and of course, everything what he written in those letters. It's a collection. Was very of very educated man, very calm, who actually desperately needed a company. So that collection was, he was inviting people, he was willing to teach, he was willing to do that, he was willing to share, he was absolute. It was so personal and so close. So I started so he was in my understanding, in that perspective and that moment in 2008 in New York, I said, no, 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 he was not crazy genius. He was totally kind of different person. So I started to search and research and feel. And then I came across an exhibition here in Finland, which was first ever exhibition of Van Gogh in Finland, believe it or not. I mean, personal mono exhibition, big.
Yeah.
And it was mostly from Keuler-Müller Museum in Netherlands, which of course has its own quite a history. And then in that exhibition, they show that he couldn't draw at all. They showed the process. It was called Becoming Van Gogh, I think, and they showed the process existing in documentation in his works, with actually were flows up on the flows in drawing. So he was not draftsman. And then and also how he was searching for light, which he was master of. Light, yes, drawing, no. And that themes and approach and everything. So it was very anatomical exhibition of his way of becoming. So I got in touch with several experts, and I started to think. And not only I started to think, but I started to find the parallels in our world, in our universe now, uh, in a way of Van Gogh perception. For instance, this work, which is very modern work, but it does has Van Gogh coloristics, Japanese theme, intensity, and so on.
It looks
So
like barbed wire, Inna. It looks quite threatening, doesn't it? It's quite a
Yes.
threatening piece.
But the point was, well, his world was not exactly cloudless.
No.
So he lived. Yeah, the point here actually was in finding the sort of counterpoints to his world in our life around us.
Yeah.
So I'm creating this project and doing these pieces and making this exhibition. And in this work, he was literally looking onto me from. So this is the the kind of feel, and here he was looking onto me.
Yeah.
So he sort of present, and so this is one of the project, and another project it's
Before you
Homage
go
to-
on to the next project, tell us where that project is going to be exhibited. So the response to Van Gogh, where are you going to exhibit that work?
I'm going to exhibit it here in Finland first, and then I'm speaking with Kroller-Müller Museum, and of course I'll speak with Amsterdam, and then we'll see.
So it will it could tour.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing, amazing. You will obviously let us know where that's going on and everything. Perfect.
And well, I'll speak to our London friends, of course, as well.
Yes.
So the next one is Homage to Impressionists, and this is my work, like Homage on Claude Monet. And
oh yes, you can so see. Hold it right up to the. That's it. You can see, can't you? So come across slightly this way. You can see the lilies and everything in that work, can't you? But and the movement in there, the impressionistic style. So how was that created in a?
Well, this is again it starts with photography, with photograph, and then I edit it, of course, and then I start to paint over the print, and print. I'm making prints of course, my luck. The paper actually went out of production, but I'm hunting for it in all the world, and I'm buying it currently from Ireland. Fortunately, it's Berlin Museum paper, which has a structure exactly like structure of the paper on which Renaissance masters were drawing.
So it's vellum.
It's extraordinary because it takes when I print it, I print myself if they are on certain size. If they're bigger size, I work with two partners. But this paper, it takes color, pigment in incredible way. It actually makes it volumized. And I haven't seen any after this paper. I just simply cannot work on it.
You're spoiled now.
I am. And then it's French company which has its own slot of in France, and they're producing everything by hand. And then they were bought by Americans, and Americans decided to chop this very paper because this is most expensive in production. And I am basically hunting for remnants of what what's left, and I hope that I'll have enough big stock of that. But I'm also working sometimes I'm working on canvas. I'm doing my prints on canvas, and then painting over it.
So you've printed that your photographic image, and then you start painting over the top of the photographic image. Wow. Yeah, it's a fascinating process, and I absolutely love the fact that you're so passionate about the actual substrate, the paper that you actually put your work on, because that is so important for a collector to understand that none of this is random. None of these decisions are random. It's not just like find a piece of paper and use that. All of the process, from the very concept of the image right through the whole chain, has been considered carefully. It's all very conscious and slow in the process. Do you think you're slowing down in that conscious thoughts now as you get
I can tell you that first of all, when I make a print, and then I'm looking at print, and it's only maybe a 30% of work. ready, and then I'm planning what I'm doing, what I will do, in which color, in which medium. It takes days,
Mm.
and then when I start, I of course I I cannot use eraser. So in this case, my husband is lucky. He said, "Why don't you use eraser?" I can't because it's gone and it would be seen,
Yeah.
and I can't use the eraser. So I have to be precise, and this is very slow process. And but it also has another turn because when you start, you have to do it because you works been inspired, been thinking about something, listen certain type of music. If you stop and you will I never did any of my works in 2 days. So if it is 5 hours, it's 5 hours. It's six, and 7 and 7. And of course, after that I can't stand because my back is completely
Yes.
out of order. And then your eyes has to be very, very precise. And then I'm using also extraordinary new French ink, which is very demanding because it's extremely intense in pigment, but it's very fine. So you have to be very, very careful with what you are doing. Otherwise, you will do just a kitsch
Yeah.
also.
So do
And
you,
yes,
when you're making your work, do you stand up or do you sit down
yes,
at a desk?
no. I'm standing 80% of the time, and maybe when I need a little bit of sitting, so I do just do maybe something silly.
Have a little rest and then
Yeah,
stand up again. But principally, you're
yes,
standing at an easel
I'm
making your
standing.
work.
Yeah,
Wow. And
especially sorry, Leslie, especially when they are big, and I like to make big works. I really either it should be very small because it has its charm in it, and then
yeah,
people are buying it in order to make suits. So like
yeah,
four together, six together, eight together.
yeah.
They are beautiful, and it's something special. Or they have to be large, because large speaks.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So it's just been so fascinating listening to your story and your process and how you consider the journey of a piece. You know, people see the finished thing, but they don't see
yeah,
all the weeks and months that have gone in. Like you were saying, you know, you go to the library, you research
yeah,
all the history of this, you have your own
well,
response to it, and then you start making the work. Takes a lifetime, doesn't it, to create?
absolutely. And in case of Impressionists, whom I love them all my life, but in different ways.
Mm,
Because only now I start to appreciate what they actually did. Again, because I learned quite a lot about them. But with them, for instance, I absolutely needed to go to their places. Otherwise, you wouldn't understand what they were
yes.
doing. About 100 tasks of Manet. So it was, why did he do it and how? So I believe that to understand them, you have to be at their places, to feel them. And that, of course, without it would be this work with Manet, for instance, it won't be possible. I wouldn't understand
No,
him
and
at
you
all.
wouldn't have been able to do the Van Gogh work if you hadn't gone to the
No.
museum in New York and read the letters. You wouldn't have been stimulated. And I think that's really important for people to understand, especially people who are collectors who aren't artists, that
Yes.
you know there's a massive backstory to every
Mm.
body of work, every individual piece of work. They just
Yeah.
don't just appear out of nowhere. Even when you say it's your imagination, is your muse, your imagination is informed by your
Yes.
life and by
And
your
also,
experience.
no, it's very hard. I like art and culture, and I believe that it's staple of life, and especially under the circumstances like that we had. And of course, it feeds you. So you work hard, you search things and learn more and more. And it's, to me, it's always very interesting. But it also feeds you. It provides you a new perspective, and new quests,
Yeah.
and many other things. So I think it's two ways road.
Yeah, it's a real synergy, isn't there, where it's feeding you and you are feeding others.
But
Absolutely.
also I think that works like, for instance, these, that one of the works which I created, like special compositions, or I'll show you something else also, like this. So this is
Beautiful.
yeah, thank you.
Stunning. I
It-
love
it-
the intensity of color, which is this paper, isn't it?
yes, yes, it is great paper. But you also, for instance, these works, they are inspired by ballet, because I love ballet, and in ballet you have music and you have, of course, dance and movement, and most of all you have an atmosphere. And so these works, I think, dynamic, in any work of art. Inner dynamic is the most important thing. Color is important, everything is important, but dynamic. If you have still work, if you produce still work, it wouldn't speak to people. And if you produce work which still has a movement inside, I do believe that it speaks to people in different way. It
Yeah,
engage. It engage.
absolutely. Yeah, as you say, it touches you. I mean, we're all dealing in emotion, aren't we, all the time? And it
It will
touches you.
also it engages, so it gets you into people interested. So what else? What is there? So why? Because still works, they, I don't know, they might fix something, a beautiful moment, but dynamic works, they are speaking, they are talking to you.
Yeah,
So I think
they're engaging and they draw you in. Absolutely.
yeah, it's very important.
So do you sell conventionally through galleries, or do you just mainly make the work and then create these exhibitions that you were talking about?
I am represented by several very good galleries. One is Ranin in New York, because I also have a very big inspiration and love of Japanese tradition and art. And I am writing haiku myself, and I rose on this world of Japanese cultural tradition. So a very leading gallery in the world on this Ronin, they represent that direction. I have a very good dealers in Germany and Switzerland, and two art consultants in the UK. I have, of course, in Finland several good galleries, solid galleries. In Italy, I have also two. Yes.
So you're your work is out there, and
Yeah.
the consultants and the art agents, I'm presuming that do they work by showing your work as part of portfolios for bigger collectors?
It's I like, for instance, very well working model with my Swiss art consultant. I am committing certain amount of works a year to their agency, making them exclusive. So I deliberately said, okay, those, of course, we're working together. They said, okay, those five, I show 10, they choose five. And I committed for 1 year. And they're working with them as with exclusive. And this is I think it's very productive. And of course, some of them I do also, I take commissions, and for instance, I'm decorating embassies and representative offices and things like that. So yes, it works like that. And some of them, yes, some of them shows portfolio, but portfolio, actually I can show my portfolio. I think the good agent or consultant, he knows, or she, their clients, their needs, and they can propose. I have one very good consultant in both in UK and Switzerland, who works for very serious collectors, and she looks what I do, and she loves the works when I'm drawing inside. So she really likes it, and so she has somebody concrete in mind when she looks. Oh yes, I like that. I like that. So yeah. But it's not easy, of course. It's not that rosy as I described.
No. The art world is complex. We all know that. How did you first meet the consultants, the agents? How did you get in contact with them in the first place?
In New York, in Ranin, because I collect myself. I'm collector of Japanese prints of Hokusai and Hiroshigen. So just like that, I was actually suggested by my friend in Paris. that those people you have to speak with. So I got in touch, and then we became friends, and I started to show them what I did, and surprisingly they were quite impressed. With my UK, I think my husband actually had a very good curator, Professor Julia Weiner, and in London. So she recommended us two others, and so they're working with my husband mostly. And then I started also to use their consultancies. And German and Swiss, they saw my works and they contacted me, which is the best case. And absolutely, and we have a very good relationship because they like what I do, and it was prerequisite, and that actually set the game. And Italians, yes, too. I have, and we became very good friends. Finns know me for life, and because Michael's works here is very well known, so
your husband is also an artist.
He's the artist. He's
the artist. You're the artist also.
I am, I learn everything from him, everything. Also, not that he taught me, but of course I'm just living with the real artist, what it is, and to watch it. And I curated several, not all, not far from it, couple of his exhibitions in Italy I curated. And he still surprises me. I
think in the future I will have to interview your husband as well and get his take on it. He will probably say to me, Inna is the artist, and I have been inspired by her.
No. Anyone who see his site can see who is the artist.
Yeah. I'll have a little chat with him at some point in the future and get his side of that story. I think
he's very, very interesting when he's talking about his art, and how many times I heard it, something new appears every time. So
I think the thing that I heard most when you were talking about your relationships with the galleries and the agents is that it's very much built on friendship. So you establish a relationship and a friendship, and it builds up. This friendship builds up, and then that's when it really takes off. That's when it really ignites. You have to invest in those friendships.
Absolutely, and also understanding when you I always felt, actually, and I'm not envious person at all. This is the best thing that my mom taught me in life, not to be envious ever. So I have easy life because of that. But I always was really envious to Picasso because of his dealers, because they loved him.
Yes.
They loved what he did, and this is the thing.
Absolutely. Picasso was not just an art genius, he was a business genius as well, because he worked out the concept of luxury brand marketing. And luxury brand marketing is exclusivity, knowing you have a really strong brand, and then these relationships with people of influence. And you're absolutely right. That's why I was fascinated about how you sell your work, because that's it. That is the essence of the game, really. If you're wanting to have a lovely life, there's no competition. There is plenty of room out there for everybody. But if you build these really strong friendships and relationships with other artists, good dealers, good galleries, you're going to have a blissful life, like he did.
Absolutely, because people, it's always like that. Why Paris was like it was in the 20s, just because of it. And if each of them were geniuses, we love them all. But if each of them will be one in that city or any other city, nothing would ever happen.
No.
Absolutely.
We are the power of the collective, aren't we? As we pull together, as we all work together and pull together, the group energy is the thing that ignites it and makes the difference.
And helps and supports.
Yeah. Well, that's my job. Hopefully I do that well.
Very well. Very well.
Thank you so much, Ina. It's been
My
absolutely
pleasure.
fascinating. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you and
Thank
hearing
you.
your story and hearing your views as well, your perspective on art. You know, you're so well traveled. You have such a broad experience and so much, and you've been so generous in sharing all of that with everyone who is listening.
Always happy to share.
It's been fascinating, and I've learned so much as well. And I've been around doing this for a while, so it's nice. It's nice to listen to somebody who's had some really. You really approach things with a fresh set of eyes, and I know that a lot of the Pure members and a lot of the people who'll be watching this will be wanting to contact you because you've got so much interesting experience, and they will want to chat to you personally, I'm sure.
Everybody is very welcome,
Uh,
always.
Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you very much.